Hello fellow economists, it's our first video on the ICE Academy channel. Today we are going to talk about such interesting topic as public goods. So let's start. Have you ever wondered why goods like flood defenses, road signs, street lights, roads, beaches, traffic lights, lighthouses, the military defenses are all goods provided by the government and not through the market mechanisms themselves? Well, the simple reason is that they are examples of public goods. Pure public goods can have two most fundamental characteristics. They're non-excludable and they are non-rival. Very weird, very unique characteristics that apply to pure public goods here. And very much the opposite of what the characteristics of private goods are. But what's the non-excludability? Non-excludability means that no price can be charged for a public good that excludes others that haven't paid. And there are two reasons why maybe no price can be charged for a public good. One is that the benefits of consuming that good cannot be confined just to individual who's paid for it. That's a very weird characteristic because normally when we go to a shop, let's say we buy a chocolate bar maybe, if we consume that chocolate bar only, we get the benefit, not we get the only benefit, not other people around us who haven't paid. But that's not the case for public goods. Even if someone paid, those people around might be able to benefit in exactly the same way without having paid for it. It's very strange. But also maybe no price can be charged because there might be not be a cost-efficient way of pricing. Maybe the way of pricing is too expensive. It's not an efficient way of pricing maybe, but also public goods are non-rival. And that means that the quantity available of the good does not diminish upon the consumption. Again, that's really weird. Going back to my chocolate bar example, if you consume a chocolate bar, there is only one less available for everybody else, right? Not the case for a public good. If somebody consumes it, the quantity available remains exactly the same for everybody else that wants to consume it. Very strange and very unique characteristics here. And if we apply to same of these examples, you will see how it holds. So take street lights as an example. No price can be charged because as soon as someone pays, the benefit cannot be confined just to the person who paid. Everybody else around can also enjoy the streetlight and consume it. Also, you can argue maybe there is no cost-efficient way to price. There are also non-rival streetlights because when they are consumed, the quantity available does not diminish for everybody else. So just because you might have paid for a streetlight, it turns on and you stop using it. It doesn't just switch off automatically, it stays on for everybody else. The quantity available does not diminish upon consumption. You can argue that same thing for beaches. Take beaches for an example. Here I would say that it's not excludable because of the number 2 here. There is no cost-efficient way to price. In theory, there is a way private producers could build walls, right? And non-excludable people would, from assessing, they would basically not allow other people to assess it and then have booths. So people have to pay to enter a beach, but that's not cost efficient at all. It's a very expensive thing to do for a private producer, and also beaches are non-rival, where the quantity of the beach does not diminish upon the consumption. Beaches are massive, right? So just because one person enters the beach, it doesn't reduce the amount of available to others, available space to others. So those characteristics apply for very different examples of public goods. The issue is that because of these two characteristics, we get to the free rider problem, where individuals have the incentive not to contribute anything at all to the provision of the public good because they will wait for others to contribute and then free ride of their contribution. And they know that they can do that because their benefit can't be confined just to the person that's paid. So they themselves can benefit without paying. They also know that if that person does pay and they consume the same the same amount will be available for for them to consume as well. So the incentive for individual not to pay for a public goods themselves, but to wait for others to pay and to free write off their contributions. Now the big problem there is that if everybody else acts the way, no one's going to pay towards the provision of public good at all. There will be no contribution and therefore there is no private motive to supply them. Why would a private firm supply if no one is going to pay? And therefore there is no chance of making profit here. So if no private firm is going to supply, there is going to be absolute no supply in the free market. Zero supply in the free market. The end result will be a missing market. Complete market failure, the worst kind of market failure. Because clearly there is a huge demand for all of these things, massive demand, very socially desirable goods here. But if there is going to be no supply, you got the worst kind of market failure. Complete market failure and a missing market. But it's important, guys, that we don't just stop here there. We need to be thinking a bit deeper, because if we agree with that conclusion, it means that it means for all these goods, the only solution is for governments to provide using tax revenue. But if we can maybe evaluate, we can maybe find unique ways of agreeing for private provision. And one way of evaluating is by looking at the notion of quasi-public goods. A quasi-public good is a public good that sometimes shows the pure characteristics of public goods. So both characteristics, but sometimes will show the characteristics of. Okay, stop. It can be excludable or it can be rival. And two good examples are roads and beaches. And if we agree on that, then maybe we can find a way to private provision somehow. So roads can be excludable then? Absolutely, they can. So toll roads might not be the most efficient way of pricing, but it certainly can be done with technology improving the world. It doesn't have to be a physical toll bus. It could be like a camera that scans the license plate and takes the money away from car. Let's say electronic road pricing, like we see in Singapore. So roads certainly could be excludable, which changes the game completely. Roads can be also rival, right? During peak times, during the congestion times where road space does diminish upon the consumption. So you can argue that roads are required by public good here. You could argue the same thing for beaches. Could beaches be excludable? Also, absolutely. If maybe a hotel could own a beach and only provide access to the beach for those who have actually paid to use hotel, the way beaches become excludable. Beaches could also be rival during peak times, congestion times, summer holidays period, where one person using the beach might actually reduce the availability to others if the beach is already massively congested. So, if that's the case, if we can't get to this conclusion for some public goods, that might be argued to be pure. Then maybe we can find a way to argue that private provision might be able to take place instead of having to go towards the government and allocating resources of this public goods, and always think about the role of technology. I mentioned technology when it comes to making roads excludable, but technology certainly has helped. It may be finding more cost-effective ways to price, and therefore maybe making pure public goods. Not public goods anymore, but maybe private goods. Not public, but maybe private. Yes. Very interesting evaluation. There is to consider. Anyway, so that's public goods, and why pure public goods can lead to markets. They are even the worst kinds, complete market failure and a missing market. Hopefully now you can understand the topic and you can smash it. I hope that's all for today's video. If you have any more questions, please feel free to visit our Instagram page. You can see the our office location there, or you can just message us in Instagram or message us in WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp numbers are provided there. Please message us. Feel free to ask any questions. You can also assign on our private courses through the online private courses, or if you're a citizen of Azerbaijan or just in Azerbaijan currently living, you can just come to our office and we'll provide you best economics lesson there. Okay, yeah, that's all. See you in the next video. Bye bye.